Morning, YouTubians. Gary, VW Jawbreaker. Welcome back to the show. It is so nice out this morning. Let me tell you, beautifully sunny, hardly a cloud in the sky, and 44 degrees. Can you believe I have pants and shoes on right now? I'm telling you, the world's gonna end. So today we are back to work on Jawbreaker. We've got some stuff to do to her, get her squared away, and back on the road. But first, we need to move a bunch of cars, and I mean a bunch of cars, because we've also now picked up a 2013 TDI Jetta. That's right. With kids that are now driving, we need more vehicles and to spend more money. You know, I really wish that bleeding would stop. Anyway, let me get all these fleet of cars moved around, and then we'll get back to it. And at the end of the video, you may want to stick around. We need to have a talk, and you may not like this. Well, what have we done and what are we doing? Well, I have already re-indexed the rear of the car and raised it back up some so it's not so low and not sitting on the bump stops. I will drop a link down below on how I do that. And then I went ahead and did one side, but I went ahead and swapped out the spindle, got rid of the drop spindle just to raise the front end up a little bit. And believe it or not, these are 1967 spindles. So if you notice, those are ball joint spindles, just like the drop spindles I had on Jawbreaker. But if you notice the difference here, there's a big difference in the size of the tie rod end. This is the later, of course, Jawbreaker's a 73. This is the earlier, which actually takes the kingpin style tie rods. So it's just a matter of grabbing the new tie rod and it threads right on to Jawbreaker because the center part's the same. So you're literally just changing out the end, and there you go. These are the MP disc brake brackets that I originally had on the stock drum spindles that came off of Jawbreaker. Those spindles went to somebody else. I don't remember who, and I don't remember where they are, so I ended up getting these from somebody, but regardless, those brackets go right back on, and I get to maintain my disc brakes. The drop spindles are actually a disc brake drop spindle, so the bracket's already made into it versus this bolts on where your dust shield goes for your drum brake assembly. Easy enough. So all we got to do is get this side jacked up, replace all this, and you're probably thinking, well, if you just found the right spindles or remember who you gave yours to or lent yours to, you wouldn't have to change the tie rods. Outer tie rods are bad anyway. Got to change them anyway, so why not just do this? And then it's done. Not to mention, you know how I always tell you guys, if you're gonna do it right. A temporary fix sometimes turns into a permanent fix. It's temporarily permanent, right? You've heard that saying, I'm sure, many a times. This is temporarily permanent. We're gonna see that here in a few minutes. It's not a good temporary permanent fix, but it's lasted several years. Anyway, let's get this thing jacked up. Let's get to work. All right, let me show you what we're working with here. We got your rotor on, your disc brake on. So we need to pull, we got 2 bolts here. The caliper will be off. We can move that up top. And then you've got 2 nuts here to remove your torsion arms off of the spindle. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and your tie rod. But let me show you my temporarily, So the nut kind of came loose, even though it's got the cotter pin in there. So I jammed it up in place and put a tack weld on it. It's still solid. Is it the right way? Not really. Has it been holding? Absolutely. Have I kept an eye on it? Yes. Yes, I have. I've kept an eye on that over the last several years. So anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get crack-a-lack in here and let's get to work. Alright, spindle's off. That tie rod was definitely shot as soon as I started cranking on that nut, because the threads were a little boogered. So I started cranking on that, my little tack weld broke, so it is what it is. So what I'll do is I'll actually take a measurement from here to here, and then I can remove this one, thread in the new one, and get the measurement the same. That way it gets my alignment really, really close. But now it's just a matter of putting the new spindle in. Or not new, but the different spindle in. And this right here is your cam centric for your camber, which tilts your wheel in and out. If you notice, it's kind of offset there, so it just kind of spins. I'm glad that one stayed where it was, because that's where we need it. And now it's just a matter of dropping this one in place. And we'll be good to go. And I'll go ahead and throw some new grease on those bearings when I go to reassemble everything. And now it's just a matter of putting it back together. right, there you go. We put 1967 spindles on a 1973 Beetle. It's simple. A ball joint spindle fits a ball joint spindle. They're interchangeable. However, the tie rods are different on the earlier versus the later. It's really the only thing you need to know. There's two sizes. There's a smaller size and a larger size. If you've got the larger size, you're good to go. If you've got the smaller size, you may have to change either way, but tie rods are cheap in retrospect to everything else going on around in this world now. That's besides the point. I digress. So as you saw, I went ahead and did a tape measure alignment on the front. I put a tape measure between the front and the back. I try to keep it level, front and back, and you need to have the weight down on the suspension in order for it to get a true reading. And you want just between 1/8 and 1/4 inch toe in. So you want this slightly toed in, about 1/8 to 1/4. And I'm sitting right about 3/16. I say that smack dab in the middle of the two, so I'm good. All right, so front end's raised up. I can actually get my foot underneath the front fender now, which is nice. Before, I couldn't. That's how low she was. What else do we have to do to Jawbreaker? Well, I'm gonna pull the bus shifter out and put the stock shifter back in. I need to put the seats in and just kind of button up a few little things. Oh, and the exhaust leak still. Stupid, I hate those stupid clamps that go around the muffler and the J-tubes. They just, I don't know. I always fight them for some reason. But I'm not gonna record any of that. And the reason being, this is gonna be the last video of Jawbreaker. Wait, what? How is that possible? I have sold Jawbreaker. Jawbreaker is leaving soon for good. I mean, that's kind of why you sell things, right? Because they leave for good. However, you'll still see it around from time to time because it's staying in the family. I know, you guys aren't happy right now. Honestly, I am, but I'm not. It's bittersweet. Let me explain why. So as you know, my dad has had some issues lately with his health and cancer and whatnot. We've had a couple scares. My dad pretty much taught me everything I know when it comes to getting out in the garage and turning a wrench and figuring things out. You know, his dad, my grandfather, man, he got drafted into World War II at 18 years old. You know, he had a rough childhood. He was homeless for a good portion of his teenage years. You know, went through the Great Depression. I mean, you know, you didn't throw things away. You fixed them. You rebuilt them. You figured it out. So, of course, there's a lot more that I do that Dad doesn't do. But there's a lot my dad did that my grandfather didn't do. You know, you kind of evolve, right? You get the basics and the work ethic from your parents. And then you evolve into who you are. And it's really neat, you know, to think back of all the times that I spent out in the garage wrenching with Dad and my grandfather. You know, Dad's first car was a Volkswagen. And we were talking here recently and he said, hey, what's next? Once you finish Jawbreaker, what's next? I said, I don't know. I had my eye on something, but I just don't know. You know, money's tight. Heck, I just had to sit there and buy the Jetta, you know? I mean, got another family car. You know, the economy, everything else. Things are tough. And what little bit of money I make here on YouTube does not fund these projects. Don't let the big guys fool you. The big guys, they turn it into a business. This is not a business. This is me sharing what I'm doing with you guys and hoping that I can inspire you or help you work on your projects. It's that simple. So my YouTube, the merchandise, all that stuff, you gotta remember, I donate a lot of that back at the end of the year to the local Humane Society. It's just another way for me to give back. What I make here does not sustain what I do. It helps. Absolutely, it helps. By you guys watching, liking, or disliking for that matter, doesn't matter, it's still interaction. Leaving a comment, sharing it with your friends, all that stuff. Huge help to the channel. Absolutely huge. You know, I can't thank you enough for the ones that have been here for so long. But anyway, going back, Dad's like, man, I'd really like to have another Volkswagen. I haven't had one in years. And to be honest with you, Dad hasn't piddled in the garage like he used to over the last several years. There's been a lot going on. And so with him saying, hey, I kind of want to get back in there and do some more work, and that makes me feel good. You know, that's like Dad wanting to get back out in the garage and do some stuff again. That's awesome. It really is. So he said, well, what if I buy Jawbreaker? Okay. So it's staying in the family. You know, it's going to Dad. And who am I to say no? So again, this will be the last working video of Jawbreaker. Well, not working, but me working on Jawbreaker. You know, we will see Jawbreaker from time to time, but for the most part, she's leaving here real soon. I've got about a day's worth of work left on her, roughly, and I'm shipping her out. So, all right, enough of that jibber jabber. I know that's a lot. If you made it to the end, comment, rest in peace, Jawbreaker. I mean, she's not gone, but she's gone. Anyway, next week's video, you're gonna want to stay tuned for this one. I'm doing something I swear I would never do, and that's all I'm gonna tell you. So till then, guys, be kind to one another, and we'll catch you next week. Till then, be good.